Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you all being here at this time. I know it's a Friday, but definitely we have a jam-packed hour. My name is Dux Raymond Tsai, and feel free to call me Dux. I see a lot of familiar names. Welcome, and thank you for being back and listening in. So very excited this afternoon as we're going to talk about something near and dear to my heart, Project 2010. But more importantly, we're going to see how we can use this tool and better use it for collaborative purposes using Microsoft's latest cloud solution called Office 365. As a quick background, I've been working with project management technologies, collaboration technologies in the last 12 years or so, and boy, times are changing and they're changing fast. So with that being said, I just wanted to give you a good overview of what we're going to cover this afternoon. First off, we're going to look at how we create a SharePoint-based project management information system. And what we're going to do is we're going to use Office 365 to create this SharePoint-based PMIS. And I'll talk more about SharePoint and related tools in a while. We'll also look at how we can integrate Microsoft Project along with SharePoint on Office 365. One of the exciting things about Project 2010 in this current version is out of the box, you can take information from Microsoft Project and make it available in SharePoint. And no programming involved. So if you're a project manager, what you can do is you can take your Microsoft Project schedule, take all the tasks, take all the information, publish it out to your SharePoint PMIS, and have your resource update their information there. So we'll get to see how to do that. We'll look at how we can collaboratively share information and facilitate better communication with tools that we're familiar with, Microsoft Office. So things like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and even we're even going to take it further, and we're going to look at mobile devices. Very exciting, and you get to value a lot of the tools you have, and just a couple more other things. It can definitely help you with your project collaboration, project management initiatives. Last but not the least, we'll look at how we build project management dashboards. I know some of you might have heard me say this, but that's the secret to success in your professional career. If you want to get promoted at work, you walk up to your boss and say the word dashboard. So in this presentation, I'll show you how to do that, how to build dashboards with Office 365. So for those I haven't met, again, thank you for being here and welcome. My name is Dux Raymond Tsai. PMP stands for Project Management Professional, and that MVP is an honor that Microsoft has given me being involved with their SharePoint technologies. I'm a managing partner with Innovative E, and we're based out of DC and Atlanta, and we focus on helping organizations maximize the business value of technologies like SharePoint and Microsoft Project Server. I wrote the book, SharePoint for Project Management, and the 2010 version is coming out soon. Just check the O'Reilly website for that. And there's my contact info. I know this session is being recorded, but feel free to reach out to me if you have questions. Even after the session, I'd be more than happy to get back with you. And speaking of getting back with you, if you want me to get back with you sooner than later, send me a tweet. I tend to respond faster on Twitter versus email. And just like Yasmina says, if you're tweeting, there's my Twitter handle, MeetDux, and the hashtag for this session is MSProject. If you don't have a clue of anything that I just said about social media and Twitter, we'll definitely do a session on social media one of these days. Okay, so with that being said, let's jump right ahead and let's look at this topic at hand here. So before I jump into the technical nitty-gritty details and show you all the greatness of what this tool can provide, I want to first look at if this tool is the right tool for you. Is Project, along with Office 365, the project management silver bullet people have been waiting for, right? And to put things in perspective, I want to show this picture to start off our conversation, and because I want to make sure we start off on the right page and the right message about these tools that we're going to see. So if you look at this slide, if you look at the upper left, that picture says, you know, in a typical project environment, this is what it looks like. In the upper left picture, it shows that's what the customer asked for. It looks like a swing with three chairs on it, or 3 seats on it. And then the next picture shows, well, after the customer described what he or she wants, that's how the project leader understood it. In the next picture, you'd see, that's how how it was designed. It's like chopping off a tree. What the programmer wrote, what the consultant thought of, right? So with this like nice sofa, cushy sofa, and the lights in the back with angels singing. How it was documented. Surprise, surprise, right? Documentation, our favorite activity. How they were built. Look at that roller coaster, and what the customer really needed, not just tirelessly. So, does this look familiar in your project environment? I know some of you are chuckling or laughing. Yeah, I see that every day. I go through that pain. But if you think about it, why we encounter that on a day-to-day basis or in a project-per-project basis has nothing to do with technology. Some may say, well, Dux, this happens because communication isn't relevant, or lack of communication, or process is poor. But in the end, it has nothing to do with technology. And that's what I want to make sure we're clear in this presentation. I want to get our priorities in order. Tools or technology do not run projects. Proper processes have to be in place. Responsible and accountable people have to be involved. And realize project and Office 365, these are tools. I'm not promoting that these are your silver bullet that will make your projects perfect. You still have to have relevant process and relevant people doing it. Tools are here to help you. Now, talking about project management and in terms of maturity, if you look at this diagram, this is what I would refer to as project management maturity, and typically it's in 3 levels. And when you think about project management, it involves 3 aspects: the people, the process, the tools. It's not one or the other. It's all these 3 lockstep. Now, typically where organizations are, they're in the first bucket where, there's people. Like today, a lot of people work on projects, but they don't really have project management background, like especially folks in IT. Hey, you developer, work on this project. I mean, they get it done, right? There's no formal process. They just do it. And tools they use, no matter what people say, the tools people use today for project management, paper, Word, Excel, email. And email is the #1 project management tool, in case you don't know. Really, Dux? Yeah. Where's that requirements document? Let me check my email. Where's that status report? Let me check my email. So that's how we operate today, which is fine, but it's not ideal. Balls are being dropped, information is not being imparted. So if you want to mature, the wrong thing to do, and I've seen a lot of organizations do this, is, oh, Dux, our projects aren't going well, so what we're going to do, we're going to put in a very powerful tool, a very sophisticated tool, and life would be great. Not. Because a lot of people, what they're doing is they're jumping their tools to level 3, but the people in the process piece, they're just stuck there, right? So it ain't going to work. What I'm proposing here is take your baby steps. You mature the people, the process, and tools. You go to level 2, provide some basic project management process and then training. And then pick your tool piece just one up, and that one up is what I'm going to talk about today, is taking your paper, Word, Excel, email, move it up a bit with tools like Project and Office 365. Now, let's talk about this whole concept of using tools in the project management world. In the project management world, there's this concept called using a PMIS, Project Management Information System. And the idea of a PMIS, it's a standardized set of automated tools that will help you in your projects, not only to store files, not only to track schedules, but it also helps you with communication, collaboration, everything. Now, if we think about it, the PMIS we rely on today, most of us, is email. If you think about your email, that's the keychain that holds everything together in your project. You always go to your email to look for stuff about something you're working on, which is great, but it's not ideal. It could be better. So where does Project and Office 365 fit in? Project, in case you don't know, is the latest, Project 2010 is the latest iteration of Microsoft's project management tool. It does 3 things. It's used for scheduling development of project schedules, which you'll see in a while. It helps us with resource management, and it also helps us with project reporting. So that's the strength of Microsoft Project. And it assumes that you're familiar with some kind of project management knowledge or process. I know some of you have frustrated instances using this tool, and I feel for you. But one of the things I learned being a technical person, that it assumes you know some kind of project management practices and standards, right? Now, what about Office 365? What's great with Project is it can help you with scheduling, resource management, reporting, but from a project collaboration perspective, project doesn't have anything for you. This is where Office 365 comes in. What Office 365 is, it's really a combination of different Microsoft tools. You think about their email tool, Exchange, their collaboration tool, SharePoint, their instant messaging tool, Lync, even Microsoft Office. And some of us have it already today. Now, the difference with Office 365 is instead of you having to install it your own in your company, you just subscribe to Microsoft's service called Office 365. Literally, it takes 5-10 minutes, a couple of clicks, you get all these services. So that's what Office 365 is about. In fact, I encourage you to sign up. You can use the full version of Office 365 for 30 days for free. Now, part of Office 365 is Microsoft's collaboration platform called SharePoint, and some of you might be well familiar with it. Some of you might not be. So if you think about SharePoint, it's a platform. It's a collaboration tool. And what we're going to do in this session is I'll show you how you use this tool to improve project management purposes. So with that, let's go ahead and go through and learn about how we use project and Office 365 to improve our project management practices. So let's say when you get started with a project, one of the process, at least in my organization, when we get started with a project, is we go ahead and get started by creating this project management information system. So for example, I'm going to share my screen, so I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about here. And Yasmina, just tell me if you see the screen or not, so I'll know if people are seeing it.
Okay, it's connecting right now.
Okay, great. So let's say I work for a company called SharePoint Cafe, and SharePoint Cafe serves coffee shops around the world. And my role is I'm a project manager. I go around the world, open coffee shops for SharePoint Cafe. So one of the things we did in my company is we have Office 365, so all the SharePoint server, Exchange email server, Lync instant messaging server. We don't have to install it. Microsoft has it, right? So one of the things that we were using Office 365 for is to improve our project management practices. So as you can see, I just want to make sure, Yasmina, you're seeing this browser, correct?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. So as you can see, so say a day in the life, yesterday my boss told me, hey, Dux, your job is to open a coffee shop in San Francisco and go ahead and get started. So one of the first things I do as a project manager, being a good project manager, I'm following my process. So the first thing I'm going to do is I open my browser, so it takes me to my project management Office site, and again, this is Office 365. And one of the first things that I need to do is to create a PMIS. And essentially what it is, it's a website, a PMIS, at least using SharePoint. It's a SharePoint-based website. However, the beauty of this, so as I'm creating it, notice that I have a bunch of templates that are already there. This comes with Office 365. But one of the good things that we did is we create a specific template for the project, for a specific project we're working on. So in this case, there's already a template for opening coffee shops. And in a while, you see what that template has. And being a good project manager, I'm going to define who can come in, right? I'm saying only people in the project can come in. And once I hit create, and I kind of pre-did it in the interest of time. Once I hit create, voila, this San Francisco Cafe project site is now created. Now, once it's get created, as you can see, it has distinct sections like where I can put project announcements, project calendar. It even has all the documents I need pre-populated already. Now, wait a second, Dux. Are you saying Microsoft did this for you? No, no. Microsoft offered Office 365, the platform, which includes SharePoint Online, and we as an organization, we created our own project template. And this template, essentially, it's a site, and it has all the pre-definitions already that I need for this kind of project. And even better, it has all the files that I need. I mean, think about it. How many times when you get started in a project, you have to dig around for templates, look for files all over the place? It wouldn't be great if it's a one-stop shop like this. Number two is, I mean, if you think about 20 years ago, if you needed a website for your project, you always have to bug IT for it. And it doesn't necessarily mean you get it right away. So with this, as a project manager, I'm helping myself to get going without waiting for IT to do it for me. I'm able to create this project site so I can use to collaborate and improve my to store all my project information. Now, one of the first things as a practice I do when I get started with a project is I schedule our kickoff meeting. So I'll go ahead and go to my project calendar and say kickoff meeting. We're going to do it in conference room A. And let's go ahead and do the kickoff meeting next 19th between 9 to 10 o'clock. Let me hit save. Okay. All right. So what I just did, I went to the project calendar, scheduled our kickoff meeting. Now, some of you are watching this, and you're like, whoop-de-doo, ducks. Great. Good for you. You sound excited, but this is really no big deal. I mean, I can do this with any other tool. I mean, I can sign up with Google Apps and do this kind of thing, right? Well, this up to this point, correct, but check out what other tools cannot do. The beauty of Office 365, in this case I'm using SharePoint Online, it's a Microsoft-based product. It works really well with other Microsoft tools. So, for instance, I've scheduled this kickoff meeting, but I don't know about you. In my company, we use Outlook, and I live and breathe in Outlook. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking the project calendar, and what I'm saying is make the project calendar available in my copy of Outlook. So I don't even have to go to the website. Anytime there's a new event or a new entry in the project calendar, voila, it's going to show up in my copy of Outlook. And it's going to show up in my reminders, all that good stuff. Well, not only that, not only will information be made available from the project site to Outlook, I can enter information, in this case in Outlook. Let's say I want to do a requirements meeting. And I want to do it the 21st all day. Let me hit save. So notice I entered that meeting information from within Outlook, and guess what? That same set of information is now available onto the project calendar in my project site. Requirements meeting. I mean, think about how much time you spend in projects where you enter one data in one place and you take that same information, enter it in another place. The beauty of SharePoint being a PMIS, it's that central repository. It's much better than your email. So other than the calendar, what else? Well, for example, this documents, all my project documents, I could do the exact same thing. I can take these documents and make it display in Outlook. And once I do that, I just say, yeah, I just do it one time. Once I do that, all the files in my project is now visible from Outlook. So I don't even have to go to that project site. People can see it right then and there. And anytime there's a new file that gets uploaded or edited, I could just review it in Outlook. And let's say I want to edit it, I can certainly double-click and I can edit it as well. So that is the number one, or the first, I should say, value proposition, where with Office 365, you don't have to worry about configuring servers or not. You just go up, create an account, and you can start working on it. And once you have the environment up, you can start creating your PMIS. Now, as you get started, what else? Let's say we get started with the project. I start opening this coffee shop. What's the next step? The next step is to start planning. And what you see here is just sound, good project management practices. It says here, before you going into the nitty-gritty details, if it's something you haven't done, it's a good idea to build your work breakdown structure. And there's a video there on how you do that. Feel free to go to that link. And then once you have your work breakdown structure, you can start creating your Microsoft project schedule or Microsoft project plan. Now, for those of you not familiar with Microsoft Project, the reason why it's called Microsoft Project Plan, if you look at that file extension, it has MPP, Microsoft Project Plan. So once the WBS is created, you can create your Microsoft Project Plan. And in fact, let me show you how to do that. I'm going to share my screen again. So I've got my PMIS up. And Yasmina, just let me know once you see my screen, before I start doing anything.
Okay, we can see it.
Okay, great. So how do I create my schedule? So I've got my PMIS, I got all my documentation. So one of the cool things that that we did, at least for SharePoint Cafe, part of the templates, quote-unquote, that comes with my documentation is the actual templatized project schedule. So all I have to do is select this file. It's called Cafe Project, and let me say Edit in Microsoft Project, okay? And what that's going to do, it's going to take that file that's sitting on my project site, open it up in my local copy of Microsoft Project. I can get started with it. And the reason why I have that template is, you know, we've been in this opening the coffee shop business for a while. So we kind of templatized the process already. Once this file opens, all I have to do is put in some of the specifics, things like dates, for example, when I'm going to start with a project. I can put in resource information, but other than that, a lot of the tasks are standardized. So if you haven't seen Microsoft Project 2010, yeah, it's still loading. If you haven't seen Microsoft Project 2010, it looks totally different than previous version. It's very, very similar to the other Office products now, and it has this nice timeline view where I can see these things. So the first thing I want to do is I want to define the right start date for this project. So I'm going to go to Project, Project Information, and let's say I know this project will start on December 20th. Okay, so as soon as I change that, notice how all these dates automatically change to the right dates. So, and if all these tasks are correct, you know, these are the things that I have to do to open the store. Looks like I'm going to finish on May 6th, 2013. So I've defined when this will start, and the tasks are here, the estimates are there. The next step I want to do is enter in my resource. So right now, I haven't defined who's going to work on this, so I'm going to put my resource. Dux will be working on this project. There you go. And also, I need to put in Dux's vacation. I know he's going to take off sometime in fact, most of December. So all of December, Dux will go on vacation. Awesome. All right. So, you know, I'm sure this is similar to you. You don't get everybody that you need. You only get one person. That's fine. And then, since I've got only Dux, I will assign Dux to do all these different tasks. Let me go and do that. Now, before I assign Dux, keep in mind, Dux is going on vacation for all of December. The schedule, before I put Dux in there, says that we're going to start in December and everything will work out just well. So if I assign Dux and he's going to take off on vacation, check out what happens. Look at that. The tool, right, I've assigned Dux to do everything. Notice that the first task, there's a long line of nothing. Well, because Dux is on vacation. This is a great tool that you can show to management and say, look, management, you only given me Dux, and because of that, he's going on vacation. Now this project will take a month longer. Now, they might say, that can't be. You got to finish it in April. Well, what is it going to be, boss? Either you give me more people to help me with this, or you tell Dux not to go on vacation. As simple as that, right? Okay, we can't tell him not to go on vacation. We can't hire more people, so that's how we're going to do it. Okay, so when I hit save, the beauty of this, it's saving it back to that centralized PMIS. None of the save on the desktop, email it to people anymore, so it's saving it back there. But the other benefit of using Project 2010 in SharePoint 2010, in this case it's on Office 365, what we can do is we can take that same information, so you look at all this information, we can take all this information, Microsoft Project, and make it available on the browser. And what's the benefit of that? The benefit of that is, in theory, what we can do is we can have the project manager work on the schedule using Microsoft Project and have the project resources update their time, update their tasks directly on the project site. They don't even need Microsoft Project. That's pretty cool. So what I could do here is I could say something like File, Save and Send, Save to Sync with Task List. So let me put the right URL for this project, SFO. Let's validate that. and it saw that site. So I'm going to tell it to sync with that project task. So check this out. From Microsoft Project on my desktop, I'll tell it to sync. So it's checking the information, taking everything that it has, and then pushing it out to that PMIS or that San Francisco Cafe Project website. And like I said, the beauty of that is the project manager can have Microsoft Project, can tweak this, can update this, while, okay, are you sure you want this? Yep. While the resources, they can update their time, they can put in the specific once it's on the site. Writing data, okay, so that should be done. Let me hit refresh. So as I hit refresh, okay, it's still loading. Oh, I don't think it's done, so it's still synchronizing. Yeah, it's still synchronizing. But once it's done, you'll see all the information here. And what's the purpose of it? So now the benefit of this is, in fact, I can tweak it too. I can say I want my resource. Okay, let's modify this view. I want my resource to update how much of the task they've done, and then more importantly, that information will be made available. So percent complete, I don't need priority description, I don't need that. Okay, so you click OK. It's still syncing. It shouldn't take too long, but let's see. There you go, so it's all there. So now here's the idea, right? So let's say there's a different project manager and the resource is all ducks. So the idea now is once we start running the project, all we have to do is we tell the resource, in this case it's ducks, just update us how much you've done, And the cool thing is any updates Ducks puts in here would be synchronized back to that Microsoft project schedule sitting on the project manager's desktop. So that's quite powerful. So you talk about Microsoft Project and the different capabilities that we have. Okay, so that's one of the things that's so useful. Again, if we use Office 365, think about how everything we have about the project is in this one-stop shop. I've got all the documents, I've got the calendar, I've got the project task, so everything is in this one location. A lot of us work in projects, and how many times do we have to look for stuff because it's all over the place? Oh, the files are in this network share, the schedule is in this Excel sheet. But what if you can put everything in one centralized location, and that's relevant to people? That would be good. Okay? So with that, let me go back to my slides here. So that's what it entails for planning, and as we continue our conversation, what else can we do with Office 365 around collaboration? So with Office 365, there's a lot of collaborative capabilities. I'm sure right now you saw a couple already with Outlook, with how project managers can collaborate with their resource using Project, but there's a whole lot more. Because of the deep Office integration, you can better collaborate using your basic tools such as Word and Excel, and I'll show that to you in a while. And you can even collaborate via Lync, doing instant messaging. And even better, you can also do collaboration with the use of mobile technologies, which I'll show you. And by the way, it's not limited to Windows Phone. You can use iPad, iPod, iPhone, Android, BlackBerry. Now I'll talk more about that as I show you some demonstrations. So talking about demonstration, let me go ahead and share my screen again and show you some of the cool collaborative capabilities that we can take advantage of. So for example, let me give you a couple of scenarios here. Right? So for example, one of the things around collaboration and communication that we engage with is when we work on documents. So documents is the #1 example of collaboration, right? So let's say I have a document here called Change Impact Analysis. Let me go ahead and edit this document. All right. So as I edit the document, what's going to happen is that project site will talk to the local copy of Microsoft Word. It's going to make sure I'm allowed to do that. And then in a while, you see the document being available in my copy of Microsoft Word. So I can go ahead and start editing it. So let's say this is the SFO project change analysis worksheet. Let me hit save. So that's pretty cool. So the first benefit is we don't have to worry about emailing files back and forth. This file is centralized in the PMIS. As long as you're part of the project, you have access to it. Number two, part of the benefit of Office 365 is using the latest and greatest version of SharePoint. And one of the key features that comes with SharePoint 2010 is a feature called co-authoring. With the co-authoring feature, literally, you can have two people work on the exact same document, in this case, Microsoft Word. And Microsoft Word will tell you who else is working on it. So let's say if I was working on the title, and then somebody was working on number 6, you'll see number 6 getting highlighted, and this is tying in through Lync as well. You see it, you see Microsoft Word pop up and say, hey, your colleague is working with you on this, which is pretty cool. So you see real-time editing happening. The next piece around collaboration and using tools like Office 365 and Office is you can go back to the past seamlessly. And what do I mean by that? So, for example, how many of you where you're working on a document and then you suddenly scratch your head and says, what did this document look like 5 weeks ago, and who worked on it, right? And I'm sure you'll figure it out. You'll dig through your email and try to look for it. But with the built-in document management capabilities, I could do things like in Word, review, compare with a specific version. Oh, wow, there's actually 3 versions already. So let me hit compare. So what this will do is Microsoft Word will go back and talk to SharePoint and look at this document and review the changes and whatnot. And once that's done, it's going to come back and present to me what the changes are. Okay, so let's just give it a second. Oop, voila. So we've got the original document. So this is the first piece. The revised document. And what changed? Now, I don't know about you, but this is so powerful. I mean, I can think of countless instances where I email a single file to 5 people and they work on it, and then 10 files gets emailed back to me, and you know how messy that would be. Well, with this, we don't have to deal with that, right? So that's one very, very powerful capability. Another area around collaboration, so let me show you another example. So let me bring up Microsoft Excel. So a lot of us, at least in our companies, use Excel. There's this one situation that I encountered for one of my customers. We rolled out SharePoint for them. They're using SharePoint to manage their projects, using it as a PMIS. And one of the things I found, at any given point in time, they have about 100 projects that's running. And second is at the end of every month, project managers would have to send an Excel file to Sally in accounting to specify their expenses. So every month, project expenses are sent to accounting. And poor Sally at accounting, she has to deal with working with 100 Excel files and trying to put it together for a summary of project expenses. So I asked Sally, I said, how much time do you spend doing that? She goes, I spend maybe a day and a half doing this. And I go, would you like that to be more streamlined or easier or better? She goes, of course, as long as I'm not going to learn any new tool. That's what she said. For some reason, folks in accounting are so tied to Excel. So I go, no, that's fine. We're going to do everything in Excel. So here's what we're going to do, Sally. We're going to stop project managers from emailing you an Excel file for their expenses. What we're going to do is we're going to tell them to enter it in their project site, and then we'll make it a way so that when they enter it, it'll show up on an Excel file sitting on your computer. She goes, really? I don't have to learn anything new? Nope. You'll just work on this Excel file. Okay, show it to me. So I showed her this simple example. Okay. So coffee beans. So let's say this costs $400. We bought chairs. This cost $500. And then I will convert. First of all, I'm going to change this column. I'm going to change this column to let me see, currency, okay? So I'm going to take this information and convert it to what's called an Excel table. And then here's the magic part, right? So now that I have this, I'm going to take this information and synchronize it with a SharePoint site. Now, by the way, for those of you wondering, this is not a new feature. This has been around in Excel 2003 and SharePoint 2003, and it's all out of the box. So what I'm going to do is I will take this information that's on the Excel sheet and make it available on that San Francisco project site. I'll call it expenses. And we're going to streamline the process of project managers reporting their expenses. So instead of them emailing Excel files to Sally in accounting, all they have to do is go to their project site and log their expenses there. No email, right? So how does that work? So let me bring up that expense list. And again, this is all in Office 365. So check this out. I'm on the San Francisco Cafe project site. This is the expense list. Notice the information I entered in Excel showed up. Let me go ahead and update this. So let's say the project manager at the end of the month had to enter some more expenses. So we bought a computer for the store. We bought a brand new car for delivery, whatever, $20,000, etc. So all the project managers have to do is put their information in this expense list. And boy, in the spirit of one-stop shop, they don't have to go elsewhere. Everything about the project is here. Now, for Sally in accounting, all she has to do is the Excel file that's sitting on her machine, all she has to do is say, okay, synchronize. So what this Excel file will do, it will go out, grab the information, bring it back in, and what you'll see next is, voila, that data that the project manager entered on their project site is now available on this Excel file. This is powerful stuff. You talk about collaboration, and even better, people are using tools they already know. I mean, Excel. Everybody knows Excel. So when Sally looks at this, she goes, oh, wait a second. You guys didn't buy a car. I'm looking at the receipt. You bought carpet. And you didn't spend $20,000. You spent $2,000. So Sally not only can grab the information, she can add it, she can update it, and guess what? She can push it back as well. So Sally can say, synchronize it back with SharePoint. And once that's done, let's go back to the expense list. All right. And is it? Oh, yeah, still thinking. So look at that. Instead of car, it's now carpet, $2,000. And that deserves a round of applause, my friend. But kidding aside, it's that kind of collaborative capability that's so powerful. You don't have to enter data in multiple places. You can work with the same data. It doesn't matter what tool you use. If you're using Outlook, Excel, you go to the browser, you go to the project site directly, that same set of data can be collaborated upon. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, Dux, this is great, this is all good, but this is all in Windows, right? This is all in Windows. Some of my colleagues or my customers or employees are using a Mac. Is this still doable? Well, that's the beauty of SharePoint, or I guess that's the beauty of Office 365. As you can see, this is the Mac environment, right? So I'm going to demonstrate some of these things as well. So I'm on my Mac. This is Safari, and I'm on the project site, the exact same thing we're looking at. So let me go to the document library, and these are the exact same files that we see. So one of the beauty of Office 365, it comes with SharePoint, and SharePoint has this feature called Office Web Apps. And what Office Web Apps is you can actually, number one, work with Microsoft Office documents, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, even OneNote, directly on the browser. So notice when I clicked on it, it opened on the browser, so I can look at it. I can edit it as well. So notice I can, oh, somebody has it open. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I've got it open in the other section here. It says somebody's trying to open it. So let me close this guy. See, that's pretty good. It told me somebody's using it. Let's try this again. Okay. Change impact analysis worksheet. So I open it. And even if you have an iPad, you could do this. I can edit it. So once I edit it, why can't it be open? Unless it's still open on the other side. Let me try Excel. There you go. So I open an Excel file, edit in browser. And what you'll see is Microsoft Excel pop up on the browser, right? Again, this is so powerful. I can go to any terminal, and if need be, edit a document, I could do it, right? Now, what if I want to open it in Excel docs? You can do it. For those of you using Mac, I'm sure some of you have Mac Office installed. So I can even launch Mac Office, in this case Excel, and still work on that exactly the same file and still open. So it's downloading, it's all that good stuff. Bada bing, bada boom, voila. Oh, no, this is not it. This is a different document. It's still opening, I guess. But case in point, while it's still loading, it'll load in a while. So there you go, coffee drinks, right? So the beauty with Office 365 and all the related tools, it's not restricted to the PC or the Windows world. It's cross-browser compatible, cross-platform compatible, makes collaboration much more compelling. Oh, one more thing. Well, let me show you another thing here. So I talked about collaboration within Windows, within Office tools, within Mac. Let's talk about mobile devices. So one of the tools I use a lot is, in fact, I clicked on the wrong file. Give me a second here. Is OneNote. I don't know if you guys use OneNote. I love OneNote. For those of you not familiar with OneNote, OneNote is an Office product that allows you to create notebooks. And let me open here. So in this case, I have a OneNote notebook for my project. And just like Word and Excel, I can open that notebook from the browser and work on it. Okay. So the cool thing is, so hi, you guys should see me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fire up my, I got to wear my glasses, can't see my phone. I'm going to fire up my phone. I have a Windows phone, but it doesn't have to be a Windows phone, right? It just so happens I have a Windows phone. So built into Windows Phone is the ability to interact with Office and SharePoint. I know it's kind of blurry for you, but what I'm trying to, yeah, so it's SharePoint Cafe, there you go. So what I'm going to do, friends, is I will open that same OneNote file on my phone, okay? And then as I open it, think about this scenario. So let's say I'm a project manager. I'm in a meeting. I'm taking notes. And when I say taking notes, it doesn't necessarily mean it's just text. It could be audio. It could be video. It could be anything. But I can put in information on my phone, and once I hit save, boom, it's going to be available on the project site right away. And if you turn alerting on, it can alert all my team members and say, this file was just updated. This notebook was just updated. That's pretty cool. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and take a picture. Yeah, I'm going to take a picture with my phone, and depending on the internet connectivity, I guess, but in at least a minute, you see that picture pop up just right on the browser. Okay, I'm going to take a picture of, say, cheese. All right. So I just took a picture of my screen, and there you go. All right. So it's syncing right now, but again, what's the benefit? Today, we're in a very mobile environment, right? So what I just did here, traditionally, if you took a picture, you have to append it to an email. You have to email to many, many different people. In this scenario, I just took a picture and hit sync. That's it. What's going to happen in, hopefully in a minute, you'll see this picture here right away, and if alerting was turned on, people will get alerted, hey, this just got updated. Yeah. So yeah, it's still syncing. So I'll just let it sit, and we should see it update in a while. Oh, there you go. You see that, guys? Is that cool? All right, I get a kick out of that. But so you talk about collaboration. It crosses platform, crosses tools, crosses devices. Very, very powerful and useful. So let's go back to our slide. Forgive me, I get so excited with these technology, but more importantly, I get so excited with technologies we already have and we can use right away. Okay, so what else? So we talked about how you use these tools to, first of all, use Office 365 as a centralized hub for your project for communication, collaboration, artifact management. We talked about how to use Microsoft Project to create a schedule and make it available onto your PMIS. We looked at all the different collaborative capabilities. And then the next piece, in the typical project lifecycle, what about project tracking? Right? When we talk about project tracking, one of the things we track a lot is obviously schedule. Are we ahead? Are we behind? Or we can track budget as well, just like what I did with Excel. So one of the great things with a project in Office 365, like I said, there's that built-in synchronization, and the synchronization allows me, as a project manager, to publish the schedule, and my resource, all they have to do is update their piece of the puzzle on the PMIS, and that would get reflected back to my Microsoft project file. So let me explain what I just described here. So let's go back to our scenario. So let's say, when we're running the project, as a part of our process, resources, every time they've completed something or they need to report on something, all they have to do is to update their information on the PMIS. So since everything's assigned to me, okay, so I can say, well, I got started, that's done. Project charter, that's done. Initial risk assessment, 50%. So I'm doing all this on the browser, which is cool. Now, the project manager, on the other hand, can simply open Microsoft Project, and just like what I did in Excel, the project manager can hit sync. And when the project manager hits sync, all the updates on the website, on the project site, will be reflected on this Microsoft Project schedule, which is pretty good. Now, some of you might be asking, well, that's great, but see this? So it's still, you see that those checks, essentially they'll say it's 100% done. Some of you might be saying, well, Dux, we don't capture information by percent. We want to capture actuals. What I mean by that, Dux, is I want to capture when did my resource actually start? How much time did they spend? What's the actual hours? Can I capture that? The answer is absolutely, absolutely. Any field in Microsoft Project, so notice start, right, project charter. Let me show you this view here real quick. And let me zoom in. I want to show you. Yeah, you don't quite see it here, but it says 100%. And you see the checks, though, 100%. And this one should say 50%. In fact, let me change this view so we can see it better. There you go. Yep. So I don't know if you can see it, friends, but here it is. It says 50%, right? So what that means is all the updates on the project site showed up in Microsoft Project. So Dux, what if I don't want to measure by percent? I want to measure by actual hours, or I want to measure by actual start. Can I do that? Absolutely, absolutely. So what I wanted to show you is, let me go back to, here you go. So here, what you can actually do is you can take any field in Microsoft Project, which is a lot. You can take any of this actual duration, actual finish, actual start, and you can make it available in your PMIS as well. So that means is if in your process you capture actual start, actual finish, you can push it out to that project task list in SharePoint and have the resource enter that information. So they can certainly do that. So it's flexible enough that allows you to do that. Another point I want to raise is, just like how I can connect the project calendar and documents to Outlook, I can actually connect this project task list onto Outlook. So what that means is the resource, not only can they update their status directly on the project site, they can even update it here in Microsoft Outlook. Identify local business. Okay, so that's 100% done. That's done. Save. Initial risk assessment, 50%. Now I'm 75%. Everybody see that? So now I'm doing all my updates in Outlook, and that ties into all the reminders in Outlook as well. So you talk about collaboration, leveraging all these tools. It's right here, and it's right now. Now, another area around tracking and reporting is obviously dashboarding. One of the key requirement, or even not requirement, but ask from customers or management folks, they would love to see a way like dashboards or KPIs or red, amber, greens, right? So with SharePoint Online on Office 365, that's easy enough. So for example, let's say we've got all these expense information. Let me go back. So the scenario may be, let's say management wants to see all these expense information in a pie chart, right? Especially if this is a lot, because it's kind of hard to eyeball how much we're spending for the project. So what we're going to do is I will go to that project site and insert what's called a web part. A web part is a technology in SharePoint that allows you to install or include little programs. And in this case, I'm going to embed what's called a chart web part. So I'm going to embed a chart web part to create my expense dashboard. So notice there's a lot of different kinds of visualization tools you can use. I'm going to use the chart web part, and friends, I'm going to, there you go. I'm going to pick a pie chart. Pick a pie chart. Wow, that rhymes like Peter Piper. Okay. All right. So that's still thinking. Okay. Let's pick a pie chart, and what we will. Okay. We'll pick a 3 pie chart. And friends, by the way, you can change colors, you can change shape and sizes, what have you. And then I'll connect it to that expense list. Now, talking about connecting, it's not limited to the information within the project site. I can connect it to Excel. I can connect it to other databases. So that's pretty cool. But in this example, I'll just connect it to that expense list that we built earlier. And what we're going to do is we're going to take those expenses and visualize it in a pie chart. And realize that expense information is also connected to Excel, right? So what that means is if the Excel file is updated, you can essentially drive that chart as well. Now, on a side note, Sally was very happy that this solution was in place because after we did it for one project, we did it for the other 100 projects, so she just had different sheets. And then she had a summary sheet to take all the data and create her pivot tables and pivot chart. And she loved it because after maybe 2 months, she called me up. She said, instead of spending a day and a half, because I don't have to deal with checking emails, putting all these Excel files together, the data just comes in. I just spend 4 or 5 hours just to check if the data is good. But yeah, so that's a pain that was addressed right away. Okay, so let's go back to our chart here. Let's pick expenses. There we go. Next. And let me hit next, and then let me hit finish. You can change, different properties. You can put formulas, but essentially what I wanted to show you here is, there you go. So just by looking at this, we can say, oh, we spent the most on carpet for this project. Now, again, let's say Sally from accounting got a new receipt. Somebody spent money on travel cost. They spent $3,000, yeah, and Sally can push it to that project site, so synchronize, and just to make sure it shows up, we should see that travel cost or travel expense. There you go, travel, which means since this chart is pulling off of that expense list, 1, 2, 3, we should see travel show up. Isn't that so cool? So that's part of project tracking. We talk about updates, we talked about reporting, and even change requests. So I know some of you have processes around change request management. In SharePoint, there's workflows built in. So I can say, okay, I'm going to fill out this change form. We need more money. Okay, now. And because I already defined the rules of what's going to happen to this change request, and automatically an email will be sent out to say, hey, look, somebody just made a change request. A new task will be assigned. In the email, it'll say, you got to review this. Is it going to be approved or rejected? So all that process, oh, it's still thinking, I guess. All that process, oh, there you go. So the change request is in progress. We can even look at the status of that change request. And again, a lot of us rely on these things just via email, and you know how the ball gets dropped easily via email. But if it's automated, if it's centralized just like this, how powerful and how useful could that be? So with that, I know we have a few minutes left. I want to go back to our slides and kind of wrap up and then take the questions. Hopefully you found these demonstration and conversation useful and really see the power of existing tools you have, so creating dashboard, controlling changes with workflow. But hopefully you see the value of maximizing Office tools that most likely a lot of you already have, and just making even better with Office 365. So thanks again for being here. Ready to take questions, Yasmina? Unfortunately, I didn't open up the chat room, so I'm not seeing any of the chats or the questions.
Okay. No worries. I can read them to you real quick here. All right. Just give them to you in the order they came in. We do have a couple of questions. The first one is from Douglas. Douglas asks, is there a means of commenting on documents on a sidebar or something so you are not dealing with a changed document?
Absolutely. So on the sidebar, there's a couple ways of doing it. The first one is your traditional track changes. So that still works if you want to enable track changes, so all that description or commenting is already there. And then second is you can create description fields and description columns. So the answer is yes.
Okay, and our next question, it's from Mark. Mark asks, when would you use an Access DB in Office 365 versus creating a sub-site list?
The question is vague. My answer is it depends, and I don't know. If you can shoot me an email and give me the scenario, the answer is you can do it, but depending on the scenario and the purpose, I can't really answer that question in detail. I see some of the other questions. Does the browser have to be IE? The answer is no. Can a Mac user edit a project document? That's a great question, and unfortunately the answer is no. Brian, the only way a project file can be updated is using Microsoft Project. So that means right now you got to have Microsoft Project, which is in the Windows environment.
Perfect. Let's see here. We also have another question asks, what is linking to creating WBS? He doesn't understand what that is.
Oh, yeah. So I had a link on the slide on creating a WBS. So, Mark, once the session is done, you get a copy of this PowerPoint and a copy of this video. Once you get a copy, you'll see that link to creating a WBS.
Great. Let's see if there's any other questions. Folks, if you do have questions for Dux and what he's been showing you and all the demos he's been showing you, please send those in while he's still with us. We do have a few more minutes. A question just came in from Nathan. Nathan asks, can there be dependencies other than a predecessor/successor in SP 2010 task lists?
Very good. That's a good point, and the answer is no. So in SharePoint 2010 task list, it's just straight finish to start dependency. If you want something more sophisticated and complex, you would need a project server for that. But that's a great question.
Okay,
but,
I'm not seeing...
I want to follow up on that, though. You can create the complex dependencies in Microsoft Project, but you cannot create complex dependencies in the SharePoint project task list.
Okay. I don't see any additional questions. Dux, is there anything else you'd like to say to our audience before we wrap up?
No, again, thank you for being here, and hopefully you found that beneficial and useful. And again, don't be a stranger. Hit me up on Twitter, and looking forward to do more of these webcasts. Thank you again, Yasmina, for this opportunity.